Man, sometimes I wish I could go back in time like 5, even 10 years ago and give myself advice, because if I could do that, if I could implant my brain now and what I know now about fitness into my body 10 years ago, things would be totally different today. So I want to kind of share this advice with you. So hopefully that this advice helps you to avoid some of the mistakes that I made throughout my journey. I've been training for over 20 years and I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I'm grateful for those mistakes because those mistakes allowed me to progress and be where I am today. All right. So let's get into it. So the first piece of advice that I would go back in time and tell myself would be to commit to either building muscle or burning fat. You can't do both. I spent a lot of years just basically spinning my wheels, trying to just stay lean, put on muscle, because again, I'm a personal trainer. It's kind of what I did. I always got to show my body off kind of to be marketable. And I get it. But you need to spend time in a calorie surplus, because that's what ultimately changes your physique and changes your body and puts yourself through a dramatic transformation. If you don't give yourself enough time building muscle, you're going to have nothing to show for it. And years of just spinning your wheels will lead to years of no progress. And no progress is not fun. So commit to either building muscle and commit to just fat loss, one or the other. Don't try to do both. All right. The second piece of advice kind of goes hand in hand with this. So it's kind of like 1A, but I would say commit to bulk, or go back and tell myself, commit to bulking for the first 2 years straight of your journey. You decide to pick up a weight, bulk for 2 years, spend time in a surplus, build the foundation for your physique. Forget about being lean. Being lean is easy. It's easy to get lean. It's easy to eat in a calorie deficit and get lean. But you need to have muscle underneath to show off when you're lean. So spend the most prime time, which is the first 2 years of your journey, building muscle. Focus on staying in a surplus then. Because during that time, you'll also recomp a little bit. It's the only time in your career where you're able to put on muscle and lose fat at the same time. So spend the first 2 years building muscle. Then after that, then you can go through periods of time where you can diet. But ultimately, continuing that progress on, then it's either 6 to 8 months, every year, spend time in a surplus. So it kind of goes hand in hand with the first one, where you're committing to either building muscle or dieting. But at the same time, like I said, you got to lay down that foundation for your physique. And that'll happen rapidly if you spend that first 2 years building muscle. So if you're a newbie listening to this, cut out the social media nonsense of like trying to be lean and just focus on building a foundation. So this way, when you do diet, you have something to unveil. All right. The second piece of advice, and well, actually, I'll go back to this. I want to add one more thing to this. So what I've found has worked for everyone that I coach and train is that you need to spend time in that calorie surplus. So this is kind of how I break up the full year. Again, this is for like a non-competitor. This is just the average person who wants to put on muscle. So you bulk from August to September, in that range, right? August or September till March. You're going to spend all that time in a calorie surplus, just building muscle, putting on a little bit of body fat with that as well. Then you're going to diet March, April. Again, there's a month between here, and then all the way to July. So from March or April till July, you're dieting. You're spending time in a calorie deficit, stripping away the body fat that you might have put on and unveiling that new muscle that you built. Then you're going to spend a period of time where you're just maintaining your physique. And you're going to do this between July and August. So if you notice, the way I broke up the year is it's kind of set around the seasons. So between September, August, when it starts to like cool down, you're not wearing a tank top, or you're not on the beach, you can start to slowly add more weight, put more weight on. Then once springtime comes, it starts getting a little bit warmer, a little bit warmer outside. The layers start coming off. That's when you start to unveil your physique, and you're at the beach, you're leaner at this point. And from July and August, you're going to spend in that maintenance period, which I like spending that time as a maintenance period because it gives me a kind of a break between dieting and bulking. And I also don't like to drastically go from dieting right to bulking. I like to kind of spend a month or so, give or take, in what's known as like a building up phase. So I'll slowly start to ramp up my calories. And during that time, actually, you fill out. So your muscles appear much larger. and you actually get a little bit leaner during that time. So by breaking up my year like this and kind of repeating that year after year after year, every summer I kind of unveil a new physique, and I always look better when I do that. All right. So all those kind of go together. Sorry, it's like one long one there. But again, it's just so important and advice that I would have given to myself and told myself earlier, hey, do this every year. Okay. The next piece of advice that I would tell myself is don't neglect your health. So I'm a really, really skinny kid. If you looked at my parents, my genetics, my parents are tiny. My dad, even now, he doesn't work out, he doesn't exercise or anything. He's like skinny fat. He's like 150 pounds. So my parents and my genetics aren't meant to be big. So for me, I need a lot of calories to get the scale moving. So sometimes what that means is for me to get the scale moving, I have to have upwards of 5,000, even more calories just to push things along. And what comes with that is unhealthy food choices. So I would always say to my younger self, listen, it's so important that you focus on your health, obviously, because if you're healthy and strong and overall your body chemistry is fine, which it is, I'm not trying to say it's not, but if you're focusing on your health, you're going to be able to live longer. Hence, you're able to look better longer while you're alive. So you don't neglect your health. Still focus on getting your healthy fats in. Focus on getting in your vitamins, your micros. Focus on that stuff. Don't worry so much about the macros. As long as you're hitting those calories, you'll be fine. But you need to have a baseline for how many good, healthy things that you're consuming. You have to have kind of like a rule. I call it my health protocol. So like I take a certain amount of fish oil every day, take a certain amount of olive oil every day, certain amount of vegetables, certain amount of fruit every day, no matter what, just to kind of check that health box for myself. Because as I get older, as you know, time is undefeated and I want to try to live as long as I can, as healthy as I can. So you need to kind of do the same. So focus on your health. Then this way you can kind of eliminate issues as they come along. You know, you don't want to be bulking and, you know, and all these things and trying to do all this. And then you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Like that's not cool either. You got to focus on your health too. And that goes with that is cardio health as well. So focusing on getting in your steps every day and all those other things. All right. The next piece of advice I would tell myself is eat the foods that work for you. Screw the rules. In bodybuilding, there's certain rules that you need to have. You got to eat brown rice. You got to eat asparagus. You got to eat chicken and this and that and all these other foods. You need to eat oatmeal, potatoes, sweet potatoes, you know, all the bodybuilding staple foods. But F that, man. Eat the foods that work for you. For me, every time I have potatoes, I feel bloated. I don't know what it is. My body just doesn't like potatoes, but I can eat bread and have no problem with bread. I actually feel good when I have bread. I can digest it well. Doesn't bother me. Don't listen to the bodybuilding dogma that's out there and focus instead on the foods that work for you. Remember, you're a unique snowflake. I love saying that, it's so funny, but you're a unique snowflake in the sense that everything is going to work different for every person. This is why when you scroll through social media, you'll see people who, you know, low volume, eat low carb, high carb, you know, high fat. It doesn't matter. All these things work. You just got to figure out what works for you. And the only way to do that is to pay attention to your body. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the next one, which is what I say, F the science, focus on yourself. Now, I don't want to say that arrogantly where I'm like, screw science, you don't need to listen to the studies. But for every study that you find, and all you nerds are going to comment below and talk about how, oh, this study proves that this is not whatever you guys are going to comment, right? Now, I'm not trying to be arrogant and say, screw science, because science obviously has come up with a lot of things. But there's also, for every study that you find, I could probably find an equal amount that say the total opposite for what you're trying to prove. So instead of listening to the science nerds, pay attention to yourself. Put your blinders on and just focus on the basics of nutrition, the basics of training, and focus on doing that for an extended period of time, and you'll figure out what works for you. Because that's the most important thing. For so many years, I listened to A guru, B guru, you know, the science person said this, so that must be true. This physical therapist said this, so I got to listen to them. Horseshit. You got to pay attention to you. You have all the answers inside of you already. You just have to listen to your body. Your body will tell you. I promise. My younger self would have been like, that's nonsense advice. My older self is way smarter to know that that is so true. So listen to your body. Your body has the answers. Okay, you just got to listen to it. Flush out all the noise and focus on what works for you. Could be low volume, could be high volume, could be carnivore, could be high carbs. The only way you'll know is if you experiment and figure out what works best for you. So I just want to know, I'm so curious, if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self, even if it's just a year in the past, what would you say? What are the things that, or pieces of advice that you would drop on your younger self to get better results today in the present tense? All right, guys, because you made it this far into the video, I got a free gift for you. I have a free 6-week training program that I want to give you. No strings attached. I just want to help you to avoid all the muscle building mistakes that are out there and finally start making progress. So click that link below, pick up that program today. And until next time, this was Anthony, AB Fitness. I'll catch you on the next one.